everyone. Welcome to another Untold Stories from the Water. Today is really special for me because I'm fishing with George Copeland and his son Christopher from Fort Lauderdale. George has a tackle store in Fort Lauderdale called T&R Tackle that he's owned since I was a kid. And he also directed me as a young kid in how to build fishing rods, how to run a business, mentored me in a way I didn't realize till later in life. But today is a treat for me to get to fish with him and his son after our long relationship. And here I am in the Florida Keys. I never thought would happen growing up in Fort Lauderdale. And hopefully we'll catch something today.
We usually do catch something with you. He's a pretty good guy.
Tarpon is our
best.
Our species, target species.
Yeah, as Randy said, he grew up in Fort Lauderdale, and he didn't say this, but he always used to call me Pops. It was his nickname for me over all the years, so just a little something of interest.
Well, you were a father figure to me when I was growing up. I had no idea where I was going, what I was doing. Never thought I would end up in the Keys being a fishing guide, but I mean, here I am. And you know, you and Tommy working for you guys back in the day, cutting my teeth on what was going on. It really made a difference in my life later on. I didn't know then, but now looking back on it, I was really blessed to have you guys in my life when I did. So let's try to go find a tarpon today and see if we can make some memories.
Yep. Always a good day to come down and fish with Randy. He's a great fishing guide, probably one of the best in the Keys. And very enjoyable to fish with him. He always seems to be able to know where the fish are and put us on fish.
Gotta get lucky.
Yeah, I don't think he gets lucky.
I always say there's no such thing as luck.
Yeah.
It's preparation, opportunity, right place at the right time.
Right.
Which you would know all too well with your snook fishing and the stuff you did in Fort Lauderdale back in the day. I mean, I think you were putting carpet down when I first met you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you were working at the tackle shop.
Yep.
And you were doing this bridge snook fishing thing. And I took one look at those 9-foot rods and I said, "What do you have for a leader?" And you said, "Straight 100. Yeah. I knew I was in for it.
Well, Randy did some of that fishing with me quite a few times. So he found out about that.
It was all about the thump. You told me, "Well, how am I going to know when I get a bite?" And you said, "You'll feel the thump." And there is nothing like a 20 or 30 pound snook thumping your mullet or your sand perch or whatever you got. And you know, when you start reeling, you are in for it. And you know, people may underestimate a snook in general, but those big ones around those bridges, when you had to muscle them out of there, that was a job. I mean, even for you. They
pull really hard. You got to move them or they'll move you.
They pull super hard.
There was a night I was fishing a bridge, and Randy must have seen us and pulled over and came walking up, and he walked up and started to talk to me, and I got a thump so hard that Randy jumped about 3 feet away from me to give me room to hook him because he could see it. The fish hit it so hard.
I knew what was coming.
And that happens quite a bit. The other morning, Christopher and I were fishing, and there was a few mullet where we were, and we were talking about whether we should try another spot. And Christopher mentioned that he said, "Why would we leave? These mullet are not real happy. There might be something here." And about the time he got through saying that, I could see the bite. He got hit so hard. He got one of those tremendous thumps. And he caught the fish. It was about 25 pounds. So,
you know, there's probably no one, and I think even Dave Justice, because you've got him on time, but certainly for catching big snook, it would have to be, I'm sure if we were talking to Tommy Green, he would say he's got the most. But the reality of it, between the two of you, I'm sure Have you documented how many big snook you've caught, or have any idea what the number might be?
I could not humanly possibly tell. I can tell you that between Christopher and I, we caught 292 last year that were probably over 10 pounds.
Wow, 1 year.
1 year.
And your best year when you were catching 30-pounders, I guess mostly in Stewart, or did you catch those around Lauderdale?
We caught a lot in Stewart. We caught a lot in Fort Lauderdale. I think the best year I ever had, I caught 7 fish over 30 in Fort Lauderdale.
In a season?
In one season.
Yeah.
And actually in about a 2-month period.
And that was not going to the spillways. That was...
No, we didn't catch any spillway fish.
Yeah.
Last year I fished 3 mornings in a row, and I caught a fish that was about 30 pounds. And my older son wanted to go the next day, so he went with me. And he missed a fish at one spot. We went to another spot, and I caught a 25-pounder. And he was like, yeah. I said, well, let's go over to this other spot where I caught the fish the other day and see if they're there. So we went, and he immediately got his mullet and ran down to the best spot to fish. And I stopped a little bit before where he was going, which wasn't as good a spot. And I actually caught a fish there that weighed 37 pounds. So
that's a good one.
That was a good one.
Man.
We weigh them in the bridge net, and then we let them go.
That is a whole nother level of snook fishing when you get those fish over 30. I mean, it's just, some people will never know what that's like because there's not a lot of them. Certainly there's not any in the Keys, I don't think. I don't think I've ever caught any that big. But it's
down here.
It has got to be a thrill for one of those.
But most people don't even know what a 30-pound snook looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
A cute story, like Randy was talking about stories. A friend of mine and I pulled up on Camino Real one night, and this guy was standing on the bridge, and his buddy said, Bill here just caught a 40-pound snook. And we're like,
lock it up right there.
We hadn't seen a 40-pound snook in a long time. So we were asking the guy if he would show us the fish before he left. So he said, sure. He opened up the trunk of his car, and he had him wrapped up in a sheet. And I look in, and I'm like, this fish is lucky if it's 22. And I said, well, I got a certified scale here. I'll weigh it for you. And I told him it was 22 pounds. He goes, I don't think so. I think you're wrong. So I hopped up in my buddy's truck and opened up the cooler. And I had a 37-pounder that I caught in Stewart in the cooler. And I said, well, if yours is 40, how big's this one? 60?
Wow.
So, and then later, about 3 weeks later, we were on the bridge, and he was telling somebody that he weighed his snook at the Publix on Yamato Road, and it weighed 41 pounds.
Weighed at Publix?
Yep.
On the
Publix
scale.
meat scale.
Oh, wow.
And I said to him, I wouldn't buy meat there. Boy, that scale's way off.
Wow.
So, just some interesting junk.
Well, back in the, I was telling in my first podcast about growing up in Fort Lauderdale and Tommy Green hiring me to wrap rods, really my first real job, and I met you there. And then David Reddington I was talking to him the other day, and he kind of thinks that he was there too. He was
epoxy in the rods.
Yeah, I guess he got me the job, and we were working together there.
Yeah.
And back then, the furthest thing from my mind was getting an education about business and about how all that stuff worked. And I just thought it was cool. And it was a job, and I could go out on the weekends, and, having you and Tommy to kind of really mentor me, because I didn't know where I was going. I mean, I was going to play baseball, I was going fishing, and it just kind of was one of those things that I really took to heart later in life. I didn't realize any of that at the time, nor did I think I would ever move to the Keys, but I ended up moving down here with Oz Keggy.
Yeah, you were doing a lot of baseball back in those days.
I think I was working with you after Tommy.
Yep.
I kind of flip-flopped a little around, worked with you a little bit, back and forth. And I think after that, I ended up coming down here. But, you know, your tackle shop has had probably all of the biggest names in rod building work there.
Well, I'd say the best rod builders in South Florida all work there. You know, well, my son Christopher and I were talking the other night about fancy rods and rod builders, and my son said if he wanted a real fancy rod, and we've got some good rod builders that work for us now, he'd send it down and have Randy build it, because he says Randy's the best at building the fancy stuff. And that's the truth, and Randy's probably one of the best rod builders, period. So if you need custom rods, Randy's a good man to go to.
You know, who would have thought 40 years ago that I would still be doing it and making them for all kinds of people and having my own business? And it's I'm just really blessed that I paid attention and just absorbed what was going on. You know, I used to think, not so much you, but at times, and Tommy especially, you know, just being a hard ass. But that was business.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know the difference.
Yeah.
And when I had my own business and had to face those realities, it all came to fruition about having to be that guy.
Yeah, well, you've had quite a few shops now, so I remember even when you worked for Hal Chittum building rods.
Yeah,
that's got to be 35 years ago or 40 years ago.
1985.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a great journey, and I hope it's long from over. And it's just very, very special to be able to be doing this, especially with you, you know, with the history we have. And I'm just very grateful for the people I had in the beginning and early on, because, you know, I always say, I think the rod building thing and baseball kept me out of trouble. It put me on a path of something that I'm sure, had I not had that in my life, I would have been doing something probably much worse. And, you know, I was blessed that it came together, and my mom didn't buy me that rod. Charlie March told her, well, just buy him the parts, he'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And who would have thought?
That was a good thing.
It was.
You figured it out.
I always thought it just looked cool. You know, I'd see Palmatier and Kammen's diamond wraps and all these fancy trims, and just thought it was cool. Like, God, I could do that. And then Ellie Martin.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder whatever happened to her.
I don't know. You know, she worked for T&R, as did Dean Burley and
Cody.
Ken Cody, yep.
Yeah, he worked for me when I moved here.
Yeah, I know.
For a short time.
I don't know what Kenny's doing now. Last I heard, he was building rods for Juno Bait and Tackle.
Right. Yeah, he is. I talked to him a couple of years back, actually.
But, haven't seen him much. Lee Kammen died.
Yeah.
And Palmatier died. They all worked for us. And then Dean Burley's still alive, but not building rods. He was a good rod builder, too.
He's cutting grass or something, I heard.
Pool boy now.
Oh, cool.
He went from cutting grass to being a pool boy.
Okay.
You never know.
Right.
You never know what somebody's going to do.
No. Life is interesting.
Yeah.
Just kind of go with what's working and let it happen.
That's true. That's true. Looks like the people are thinning out. They're not trusting this place.
No, they're still here.
I saw some fish roll way back.
Yeah, I did too. It seems like they were in this white bottom yesterday once that tide got going good.
Well, I guess we could tell a Randy story. He'll love to hear this one. This is probably
what
one
are
of
those, jacks?
Yeah, I thought I saw some jacks chasing.
Because I'm looking at a school of fish and I see the flashing.
Yeah.
You want to throw your worm on them?
I guess he doesn't know.
I guess not. So George has got a...
Okay, well, this is an interesting story. Randy was going shark fishing. They were going to go up to Juneau. So they went up to Juneau and caught some 300-pound plus bull sharks. And they bring them back in Randy's old Toyota. They got them in the back and they weigh them on the scale behind the store. Now, they were fishing, rowing baits out in this little 10, 12-foot John boat they used to call the Weed.
This was with Burley.
That was with Dean Burley when Dean was working there.
Yeah.
So they took the sharks home, evidently, and Dean, being Dean, dumped one in the pool where they lived in the apartment complex, and that got him kicked out. But a few months later, they had the Fort Lauderdale Winterfest boat parade. So Dean and Randy get this brilliant idea. Randy gets a Santa Claus suit. He's dressed up in the Santa Claus suit. And they put the Weed, the little 10, 12-foot John boat in the Intercoastal Waterway. Dean's rowing, and there's Randy in the Santa Claus suit in the Winterfest parade. They get in front of what used to be Stan's Lounge, and all of a sudden they're taking on water, and some girl standing on the seawall watching the parade goes, "Somebody help, Santa Claus is sinking, Santa Claus is sinking."
We flipped it over.
Yeah.
Right there. Well, there was a guy, it was cold that night, and there was a guy on the seawall that said, "Hey, Santa, I got some warm brandy. You want some warm brandy?" And I don't know how many Budweisers we had up to that point, but obviously enough that brandy sounded good. And I took a sip of this warm brandy, and all I remember is after I did that, the waves in the Intercoastal, because now the boats are going past us, were about 3 to 5. And the next thing you know, the Weed is upside down. We're washing under the dock. Everybody's screaming, Santa's drowning. It was a pretty exciting moment. And then after a few minutes, everybody kind of went on with their business. And
yeah, once Santa got out of the water, they're like, okay, he's alive.
We waited for the dust to settle, and soaking wet, we paddled back over to the shop, put the boat in the truck. Well, we made a Christmas tree with outriggers or something with siloom sticks, and then I had a bag of candy. I was throwing candy to all the people along the seawall and on the bridges, and it was great until the waves came.
I think that happened when some of the boats turned around and started to come back.
Yeah, I don't know if you could get away with that nowadays.
No, I think if you put the thing in, the police boats would take you right out of the parade.
Oh, yeah.
They go, "Where's your motor, boy?"
Yeah. Oh, that was pretty funny. Only in Fort Lauderdale. That had to have been 79.
Yeah, about that.
Somewhere.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Those were the days. I remember a story with you. We were coming back from Stewart after working all day at Custom Rod and Reel.
Yeah.
And you had some sort of little mini station wagon, like I don't know if it was a Mazda or
I think it was a Toyota or something.
Datsun.
Yeah.
And I remember coming home, and we'd work all day. We'd get up there, and of course the tide wouldn't get right till 11 or midnight.
Yeah.
So it was the wee hours of the morning, and I kept hearing on the way back. I kept hearing dun 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 on one side, and we kept like we were riding on top of the little
lines,
things on the road, that I guess they're supposed to keep you awake. And we would hit them, and then we'd not be on them, and we'd hit them, and I'm kind of fading in and out, not really paying much attention, just wanting to get home. And so the next day, we're sitting around working, and somehow the subject came up about the ride home, and you said, How was your nap?
Yeah.
Evidently, you were napping, and every time you'd feel the little bumps, you'd turn to the right or you'd turn to the left.
Yeah.
I guess you were like Chevy Chase, sound asleep.
Well, you're awake, but you're kind of like, oh, when you hit the bumps, you
going down I-95 in the middle of the night.
Oh, yeah, nice. But there was no traffic then. Oh, Tommy and I used to stop on the turnpike and pull over and run over to the turnpike canal and splash water in our face to wake up.
Yeah, I believe it.
That nasty water. Better than dying.
And when they were biting, you know, you would go 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 nights in a row, with the tide and everything just right. So you didn't want to miss it. And then if we were lucky, we got to sleep for a couple hours in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You'd sneak in the bathroom, take a shit for an hour and a half. Where'd he go? Shouldn't have said take a shit, but well.
It was a long one. It was a good nap, and didn't take anything to go in there and fall asleep either. It was.
Oh no, you just boom, you're gone. Yep.
Those were certainly the days with all that going on, and you know, here we are in the Florida Keys in a spot where you actually showed me when I first started fishing down here. We came here fly fishing for tarpon, and
it's still good.
It's amazing that we spent the day together. We had some shots. We had one nice fish on.
Yeah, somebody stood on the line.
But that's fishing, right?
Yeah.
We made the day of it, and we got some memories.
Yeah.
We had some fun, laughed. It's what it's all about.
Yeah, we'll go do it again tomorrow.
Yep. Yes, we will.
See what we find.
George, it was great fishing with you.
Yep.
I look forward to next time.
Yep.